Hello and welcome to the second video I have on my channel. I am racing here again at Michiana Raceway Park, or the second video in my racing series, that is. I've posted some other ones. But yeah, racing the Michiana Raceway Park Racing League. We're doing Track C layout this time instead of the Track B without the horseshoe that we did last time. The horseshoe is the first two turns of the track. So coming out for qualifying here, this is my fastest lap of the session. Coming down the main straightaway into turn 1, which is now a heavy braking zone instead of flat out. We go all the way around instead of straight down where the cones were. Turn 2, small lift or flat out. Turn 3, this is completely flat out. Turn 4, in track B, we would do a slight tap on the brakes there, but here it's completely flat out because of the horseshoe. Into this next turn, it's a tap on the brakes, and we just went straight on as you saw, instead of doing the old layout in track B if you watch my last video. That means this turn you have to do a slight tap of the brakes going into it. This turn is completely flat out if you take the line right up to the edge of that yellow curb and into the final turn. Take a really nice line through here, and I think I tucked my head just a little bit to try and squeeze out that extra couple tenths. My lap time there was a 45.404 seconds, 1.2 seconds faster than the guy who qualified second. So I had a really good race today. Coming to race 1, this is the first time I ever qualified pole, so I was a little concerned of what I should do at the start. Didn't know when to start. Coming up, the acceleration line is the next set of cones right here. So I kind of start to accelerate. I hesitate a little bit. I wait for the green flag, and I confuse the second place card a little bit. And he dropped back at the start as a result. I didn't really know what I was doing, but it worked. We held first place at the start of the race, and we were able to kind of run away with it from this point on. Here, we're coming on to the final lap of the race. I was able to just sort of hold the lead and keep it throughout the entire race. Coming around the final two corners here, into the final corner, and the checkered flag. I won by a full 11.7 seconds this race, and I was pretty proud of my result. I was a little concerned. The day before, my pace was not looking good. I was doing some practice, but it ended up very nicely. I kind of adjusted the tire pressures I was using. That guy off to the right, we just saw his chain had popped off. So coming up to race 2, they inverted the top 5 finishers from race 1 for this race. So my goal here was just to get by as many people as I could in lap 1, and then not let Toby pass anyone and then have me get stuck behind him, because that's, in my opinion, only I was going to lose this race. So coming to the green flag here, I'm giving a little bit of space to the guy in front, trying to get a really good jump. It was a really late start from the leader. Come around the outside. I'm able to get around the outside of Jacob, who is the cart on my left right now. I wasn't quite able to do so. He's going side by side with Toby through that turn. Coming up alongside him, the car in front of me, his chain pops. That was the leader of this race, unfortunately. Toby, Jacob, it's the curb coming out of that turn, which allows me to pounce on him and get up into third place. Toby is not gotten by my dad, which is the leading cart right now. And so I'm able to sort of catch back up. My dad didn't have the pace today, and so Toby was getting held up a little bit. But coming around the turn on the final straight, I was able to really get close to Toby here. And he's going to pass my dad. I'm going to try and follow him through here, and I'm able to do so. Coming around into turn 2, and my dad comes shooting back around. A little cutback there. I try to hold it around the outside of him here. Put 2 wheels on the grass there, you can't really see that. And my dad holds it there, and then Jacob comes back at me, up through my inside, and I try to hold it around the outside here. I'm not going to try to give up any positions now. I can't. I'm able to get back into third place. He cuts back, tries to take the outside around this turn. I'm able to hold it again, and then he cuts back again, but you can't go too wide through this final turn, so I know I have it here. I don't take the best line through there because he was on my outside. I take a little glance behind me, but I'm able to keep position in this corner. I don't have to defend or anything. I see at this point Toby had already gotten ahead of my dad, so I do a real quick send up into the turn 2. I was pretty proud of that move. I was not expecting to do a move there. I kind of just saw an opportunity, saw a gap, and took it. Now, I knew I had the pace on Toby coming up on these next couple laps, so I real quickly catch up to him. He lost the rear end. That's one thing I heard he was struggling with this weekend, was he was struggling with rear grip. So getting really close through turns 1 and 2, closer and closer. When I know he's struggling, I have the pace on him by like around about a second a lap, 8/10 a lap in this race. Flat through here, he loses his rear end a bit through there. Take a little peek up the inside, decide it's not worth it. Coming through these next couple turns, he takes a wider line through there. I've been only coming out to the middle of the track, and that allows me to get a great run through this next corner. Try to go around the outside of him, just trying to put as much pressure on him as possible, make him go a little bit defensive into there. He doesn't take the best line. He's a little bit away from that second curb, so I'm able to tuck into the little slipstream that we kind of have in these karts. He's able to hold it around the outside. I wasn't that close to him. I wasn't close enough, I should say. Really trying to get up on the back of him, put as much pressure as I can on him. Following through this next turn. Again, he goes very wide, and I'm able to just get a really good run through this next corner where he can't open it up as much, which allows me to get really close to him, as you see. I think my line was a little bit quicker through there. He comes really quickly back across onto the race line there after going a little bit defensive, and I got a little scared and put 2 wheels on the grass, which meant that the gap opened up again. This meant I couldn't really go for a gap on this straight. He does show a little bit defensive into turn 1. He goes a little bit wide. I kind of follow him though through this next corner. I get really close to him and I open up this next corner, but it's flat, so you can't really get a big run through there. In through turn 4. Following him, showing inside again. Decide against it. Again, he runs that really wide line. I come to the middle of the track. He's got a bit of a gap, but after this corner, I'm getting closer and closer up onto the back wheel. I take that corner really well. He shows a bit defensive into this next turn, which is good for me because I'm able to get even closer to him now. Coming through the final turn, I lift a bit. He opens up the gap a bit, but as again, he runs a little bit wide. He doesn't have the rear end. They get through that turn fast from that angle. He shows a little bit defensive. I'm looking at the outside just a bit. That doesn't work out for me. I slide a bit through that turn, but now I know exactly where I'm going to take him. I just got to be a little bit closer. I gave him too much room going out of the final turn. Again, looking inside here, he goes a little bit defensive. Again, with that wide line, I get up real close to him through this next turn. Show around the outside here, he has to go defensive. This means I back off again. I get really close, a little bit defensive through this next corner. He loses the rear end a bit, and that gives me a ton of momentum coming down the main straightaway, side by side through here. I brake as late as I can, and we got by him. Take this next corner a little bit tight, go to turn 3, look over my shoulder, and by that point I knew I had it. He'd already dropped back a bit. And if I just put my head down and stuck to my pace, after 15 laps, checkered flag. That was my second race win of the day. I was 2 for 2 in qualified pole. You get an extra point for sweeping the day, and you also get a point for fastest qualifier. And so this was a max points weekend for me. I was very happy, very proud of myself this race. This race weekend, I was happy with my pace, happy with how the kart felt, and happy with how I handled the races themselves. Very consistent lap times, everything went well. My dad actually held 3rd place all the way up until the 11th lap when Jacob had finally got by him, which meant that I didn't really have to worry about defending against Jacob that race, which was a lot of stress off my shoulders. But yeah, really fun race weekend. Thank you so much to Michiana Raceway Park for hosting this for us. This is a lot of fun, and I'll be back in 2 weeks for the next race. Thank you for watching.
Go, man. 44, 45, good to go.